Hi, my name is Callan Rice, and this is my Prezi and presentation of the appropriate use of technology. So I think that schools need to educate about the safe, legal, and ethical uses of technology. They need to provide a more in-depth explanation of technology and educate students about the dangers of the internet and the complication of the laws. Schools right now have a computer class they make kids take, but it's over Microsoft Office like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and basic typing skills. Now, this does come beneficial in your school life and maybe in some people's work, but it doesn't require what most people will need in their life, and it's the internet, more about the internet and how to use it safely and appropriately. Many people believe anything they see on the internet, and they don't know some of the laws involved and why those laws are so important and that you need to follow them. So, schools need to teach people about that so they understand more and can use it safely. So technology is everywhere all around us, and everyone has access to it, including little kids. And so it's important to teach, even starting so young, about the safety of the internet and why it's so important to be careful what you put on there. First of all is social media. Social media basically runs the society nowadays, and many people don't realize that nothing is private, and once it's on the internet, it'll be there forever, and anybody can find it. Even if your Facebook profile says it's just so friends can see and you have all your settings set up so everything's private, it's not. Anybody will be able to find it. So if a college kid puts pictures of getting drunk on some weekends with all their friends, yeah, that's fun. All your friends get to see it. However, then when you go and try to get a job, future employers will go look at all of your sites, will be able to see them, and will make a decision on if you're going to get the job or not based on what's on your social media. So everyone needs to realize that anybody can see it and that you need to provide a professional site on Facebook or any other social media you have so that it won't ruin your potential jobs or anything else in your life. Also, when it's on there, it will be on there. You can delete it if you want right before you try to get a job, but everyone still will be able to find it. Next is people can hide and pretend they're somebody they're not on the internet. Scams, kidnappings, and other crimes have taken place because someone's trusted someone else they probably shouldn't. You can be anybody you want to be on the internet, and there's no way to really know the truth. So, there's a new show out that's very popular, and it's called Catfish. And it's about online relationships that are just solely online. The people haven't met ever, they've never seen each other. And so, this one guy is out trying to connect them together. And most of the time, one person is not who they said they were. They use somebody else's profile pictures, somebody else's names, whether it's because they just weren't comfortable in their own skin or they're trying to get revenge. It always happens. And these people trusted them. And they found out that it wasn't true. This is how pedophiles hide on the internet. And kids are especially vulnerable because they tend to believe anything that people say. And so that's how they give out their information because they think it's a friend coming to play, and it's not. So FBI.gov has a list of safety tips for kids, and one of them's don't give out your personal information. And I think parents should really show their kids the safety list so they understand more and can know that the internet isn't a safe place to be. They know they created Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which is an act for kids under the age of 13 to protect their personal information. It says the primary goal of COPPA is to place parents in control over what information is collected from their young children online. The rule was designed to protect children under age 13 while accounting for the dynamic nature of the internet. So this is great. It became enacted in 1998, and the rule that went along with it became effective in 2000. It just means that it'll have to have a parent's permission to do mostly anything. One place that had this was Facebook, and the kids, it would either you have to have your parents' permission to, or you have to be a certain age, or a parent would have to make a profile with you. so they can monitor what you have on there, which is a good idea in theory. But a lot of kids would just lie about their age to get it on Facebook, and it didn't matter. They got a profile. They were 10 years old, and they said they were 13, and it was fine. But that's scary because it was easy for them to get around this act, and so maybe they'll come up with a better way to actually make it work better. They try to use filtering, which is there's certain software that can be downloaded on any computer that prohibits certain sites that have a potential to be dangerous. These can be on home networks, but they're most common on school computers and networks. And this is a good idea. It just shelters kids from the bad things, but sometimes they filter things that really don't need to be filtered. YouTube, for example, I can see how YouTube can be considered bad and not educational, but there also are educational documentaries and lectures on there that could be good for kids. Kids will be doing research papers and they'll come across and need a site and it'll be blocked for some reason that it shouldn't. It didn't need to be blocked. And this will impede on their learning. There are ways to get around the filtering, like you can request for it to be unblocked, but the process is too long and complicated, and teachers don't want to do it. Schools don't want to do it. So usually what this software says is the final. The company really is the final stand. Nobody's going to try to go against it, which is kind of a pain, and I think it just impedes on learning more than actually helps. Plus, in the real world, children will not have filters. So they need to learn how to be safe on the internet without them. This will be more beneficial to them in the long run. The next important thing about education is the legalities of the internet. There are some laws that protect intellectual property, such as trade secret protection, copyright protection, trademark protection, and patents. The one people will come across the most are the copyright protection laws. So the one I thought was interesting, the trade secret protection laws protect ideas, while the copyright laws protect the expression of the ideas. So an example that I found was that somebody can write a song about love, and someone else can write a song about love and be fine, but if they use the same lyrics or melody that the first person used, then that's when it's about the copyright laws. It's not about the ideas themselves, it's the way it's presented. There's a fair use rule, which has made copyright material available if it's for news reporting, research, or teaching, which is a great idea. I didn't actually know that this existed when I started, and it's good because then teachers don't have to go around and jump through a bunch of hoops to teach their kids. However, there are some restrictions, like it cannot be overused for maybe even too many years or just too many copies made, and it can't be for profit, which makes sense because that would be against the copyright rule. But if it just stays in the school and doesn't get anywhere else, then it's appropriate and it can be used. There have been several cases to try to see if it's a fair use rule, but I think all in all that's a really cool thing. Where most kids run into the copyright rule is plagiarism. Now, because plagiarism falls into the schoolwork and research, it's not actually illegal. But plagiarism is when someone is using someone else's work, whether just writing or pictures, ideas, and saying it's their own without the credit or the references. It's not, like I said, it's not illegal, but schools tend to take this very seriously. And you can have many different things from getting a 0 on the entire assignment or even getting expelled from school, which to me seems a little extreme, but it is cheating and it is serious. Some schools have software that when you turn in a paper, it has to go through it and it can check for certain phrases and see if it'll match certain phrase and that same phrase on the internet. Fort Hays, for example, uses SafeAssign, which it just says there's a certain percentage of your paper that matches someone else's. That it works, and I think that's good, but it also doesn't account for your references. But I guess teachers can go look that up. One time though, I know that one of my friends had it was just a reflection page. Everything they did was just what they thought, and part of it matched something else. So I don't think it always works, but it's a good idea, and it does prevent kids from plagiarizing because they're scared to get caught. The next thing is the ethical use of the internet. Some master's students at the University of Illinois created this code of ethics, which I think is really cool and it should be taught in schools. The first is respect for privacy. So do not put someone else's personal information on the internet. When people come to schools and have to give their information, they want to know that it's going to be safe and that it's not going to be spread everywhere. So don't spread it. This can be bad though when someone's computer gets hacked and files are compromised. There's not much you can do about that. And hacking is common now in the society, which is kind of scary, but for the most part, as long as you do your part to have it in either a super safe place or not put it anywhere at all, that's the best thing to do. Respect for ownership. This goes back to the copyright laws and the plagiarism issues that I discussed earlier, but it's very important that students understand why it's so important and why it's wrong to plagiarize. Even though it's not illegal, it's not right and it's not the good thing to do. And the third one was respect for the network. Most people don't realize that a school's network only has a certain amount of storage. So teachers and students need to understand not to save things that aren't school related and to only be using the computers for things they need for school. It's just respect and it's nice to do. This list is very short and simple, but I think it should be taught in schools so everyone can understand what they're doing when they're using the internet. Most people have to sign a code of ethics and acceptable use policy. This is just usually a slip of paper that you sign before you're even allowed to use the school's internet. You just sign it when you enroll, not a big deal. But the terms of the agreement should be taught in school so they actually understand what they're signing. I know that I never looked, I just signed right away, not a big deal, but then if that comes back around, students didn't know that they're not allowed to look at this site. They didn't understand what they signed and now they're in trouble and they didn't even know what they signed. So schools need to teach about this so that everyone knows and understands these code of ethics and why it's there and what not to do on them. And these are my references. Thank you for listening, and I hope you agree that schools should educate more about all of these issues.